Hello. I'm going just to start Gemini so you can have a good discussion on interface in Java. Great. So we'll be discussing interface in Java, and we discussed in a previous video abstract class.
Okay.
And we understood abstract class is providing blueprint, incomplete blueprint, where you'll have a mix of abstract method that has no body and concrete method that has a full body. And also you can have attributes in the abstract class, and you can have a constructor to initiate those attributes. But you cannot create an object directly from an abstract class. That's what we discussed in the past. Now, today, we will discuss the interface class. So, Mrs. Gemini, what are the differences, in fact, between abstract class and interface class?
Well, an interface in Java is like a contract. It only contains abstract methods and final variables, and a class can implement multiple interfaces. On the other hand, an abstract class can have both abstract and concrete methods and can also have non-final variables and constructors. A class can only extend one abstract class.
Yeah, but I think in a recent Java version 8, in the interface also you can have a concrete method.
Yes, that's true. Starting with Java 8, interfaces can include default and static methods, which have their own complementation. This allows for more flexibility in designing interfaces.
Yeah, previously you mentioned that a class can extend only one abstract class. And we know in inheritance, that's the case. So a class can extend only one parent class. Is that the same thing for the interface?
No, that's one of the key differences. A class can extend only one abstract class, but it can implement multiple interfaces. This allows for achieving multiple inheritance of behavior through interfaces.
Okay, so this is the way Java went around to help programmers implement multiple inheritance, because the normal Java inheritance doesn't allow this. You can inherit only from one parent class. Okay, so let's now create a project. So we'll create a project. I'm thinking we'll create something called hospital, yeah?
Okay. Project named hospital. Got it. What would you like to do next?
Yeah, give me just a second because I'm changing my... Okay, good. Now I'm here. Now in the hospital, let's create an interface, call it maybe operation. What do you think of that?
Creating an interface named operation sounds like a good start for a hospital project.
Okay.
It can define...
Good. Yeah, continue, please. Sorry for interrupting you.
No problem at all. As I was saying, the operation interface can define methods for common operations in a hospital, such as perform surgery or administer treatment. Classes like surgeon and nurse can then implement this interface, providing their specific implementations for those operations.
Okay, so here there is something called interface. So let's me go for this one, and we'll call it operations. Okay, it's there. And we will operations. I'm seeing my screen. Okay, operation. And then we'll click finish. Okay, so it's written now, public interface operation.
Yes, that looks correct. You've created a public interface named Operation. What would you like to add to this interface?
can I have attributes in this operation interface?
In Java, interfaces cannot have instance attributes or fields. They can only define method signatures and potentially constant values. If you need to have attributes, you'll need to use a class instead of an interface.
I see.
Is there anything else you'd like to add to the operation interface, or would you like to create a class to implement it?
But I can have constant values, yeah? Or static attributes.
Yes, you can define constant values within an interface by declaring them as public, static, final fields. These are essentially constants and cannot be changed after initialization.
Yeah, only constants. Okay, that's very good. Now, can I have a constructor for the interface? Because I was able to do that in the abstract, if you remember.
Now, you cannot have constructors in an interface. Interfaces are meant to define a contract for classes to implement, but they cannot be instantiated themselves, so they don't need constructors.
You cannot have a constructor. Okay, that's good. Now, the justification, I think, for not having constructor is that you don't have attributes. Usually, constructor is used to initiate the attributes. If you don't have attributes, there's no constructor.
Exactly. Constructors are for initializing the state of an object, which is defined by its attributes. Since interfaces don't have instance attributes, there's no need for constructors.
Okay, let's now think of some abstract methods. What good abstract method for an operation interface?
For an operation interface, you could define abstract methods like execute to perform a generic operation, or description to get a description of the operation. You could also include methods that take parameters and return values, depending on the specific operations you want to represent.
Yeah, let's say public void execute execute. Okay, and this is the method. Yeah, that's good. And another one, you said public void. What other method you suggested?
I suggested public void execute and public string description. The second one would allow you to get a description of the operation.
Good description, very good. Yeah. Now let's have. Do I need to use abstract? Because in the abstract class, I used to add abstract before public or after public. Do I need to use abstract here?
No, you don't need to use abstract keyword before methods in an interface. Interface methods are implicitly abstract and public by default.
Very good. That's very good. Now, if I want to add a concrete method.
If you want to add a concrete method to an interface, you need to declare it with the default keyword. This allows you to provide a default implementation for the method.
So default and say void status. And we'll
yes.
Saying the message saying system dot out dot println
Okay. You can include a system.out.println statement inside the default status method to print a message when it's called. For example, you can add system.out.println operation status is complete inside the method body.
Yeah, it's just we simplified now. Later we'll add maybe different way of doing that. So basically now I have two abstract methods. I think Mr. Gemini went to sleep. Let me refresh. Sometimes it happened that it stopped because of the time. Thank you. We are back now. What we have done so far, we created an interface in Java, and we had two abstract methods. We don't need to say abstract because they are abstract by default. One is execute and the other one is get description. And we have one default or concrete method called status, and it displays that message. Using this interface, I need to create a doctor class and make the doctor class use the interface. Yeah, similar to what we did in the abstract class. So I'll go here and add a class. I will call it doctor. This is just a doctor class, and let's get doctor class work. I think there is another one called doctor. Call it doctors with S, and then add it. Yeah, reason because I already have a file somewhere called doctor. So now we have doctors class. How I can make the doctor class use the interface? Should I use extends?
You should use the implements keyword to make the doctors class use the operation interface. So you would write class doctors implements operation.
Oh, implements instead of extend, yeah?
Yeah.
Operation. Oh, that's it. So now doctors is implementing operations. Now, of course, as a doctor class, as a normal class, doctor can have its own attributes. So let's add string name and int age and maybe string department. Yeah, you agree with this?
Yes, absolutely.
Then we'll create a constructor. These things we know from previous classes. So doctors, and we will pass string name, semicolon, sorry, int age, string department.
Got.
Is that good?
Yes, that's correct.
You can explain while I'm just finishing this code.
All right, so you've defined a doctor's class that implements the operation interface. It has attributes for name, age, and department, and a constructor to initialize them. Now you can define the specific operations that doctors can perform based on the operation interface.
Exactly. So we'll go to the interface and take these two methods we have here and bring them into the doctor. Okay? And we need to write the body for them, isn't it? So this is the first one. We'll add a body to it. And the second one, we'll add a body to it. Okay?
That's right. You need to provide the implementation for the execute and get description methods that you're inheriting from the operation interface.
The operation started. This is just the execute one. We just said operation started. And here we system dot out dot print ln. This is an important operation,
Yep.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yes, that looks good. You've now implemented the required methods from the operation interface.
Yeah, but this should be done differently. I should use a return here. Yeah, isn't it?
Yes, you should return the string directly in the getDescription method instead of using system.out.println.
That's correct, because there is a string here. Okay, that's very good. Now the other method which we have here, the default one, we don't need to do anything with it now because it's already written in the interface, okay? So what we have done, we created a doctors class and we created a constructor for it to initiate the 3 attributes, and then we have implemented, I need to say override for this, and override for this, okay? So what I did, I implemented the methods, the abstract methods from the abstract class. The only thing I need to do now is to create a main method. So we have a main method here. We can play with it. Let's just delete these two. Here is a main method which we will create now. We need to create doctor object from doctors, and then we can call the method. So we can say doctors doc1 equal new doctors, and we pass the name Dr. Ahmad, and his age is 45, and he is in cardiology, semicolon. Is
Cardiology.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're correcting the spelling to cardiologist? That's correct. It's spelled cardiologist.
Is cardiology spelled correctly? Cardiology.
Yes, cardiology is spelled correctly in that context. It refers to the medical specialty related to the heart.
Yeah, I'm not good with health and medicine.
No problem at all. Everyone has different strengths. If you need help with any other spelling or anything else, just ask.
Good. So doc1, we will call the methods we have here. Let's call execute first. Okay. So we'll call execute semicolon, and then we'll also call the other method doc1.
All right, and you're calling the getDescription method next?
Yeah, getDescription. Now getDescription will return to me the description. So maybe I need, not maybe, I need to have system.out.println and doc1, and here this is something we know from previous.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I want to call the concrete method. This method we call status. Yeah, so let's get into status. So doc1 and status. Yeah, the status.
Okay, you're calling the status method now. It looks like that's a default method in the operation interface.
Now, if we run it, do you think it will run? Let's see. Wow, it's running. So it just did what we wanted to do. It created the object and then that. Now let's add to the doctor one a method, special method that display the details of the doctor. Yeah. So public void display info. Just this method, I love this method because it just display info. So we'll get it to display system dot out dot println, and we'll display the doctor name equal, and we'll add here plus name, isn't it, semicolon, and we'll add another 2 lines, one for age, and should be age, and one for department, and should be department. So this is a special method we added specific for the doctor class, and in the main one we will call that one as well. So doc1, and we'll say display info. Now if we run this is what we're getting. Okay.
I see the output from your program. It shows that the operation started, then it says this is an important operation, and finally it confirms that the operation status is completed. It also displays the doctor's name, age, and department.
Very good. Now, can you summarize what we did with the interface?
Sure. You created an interface called operation that defines 2 methods, execute and status. Then you created a doctor's class that implements this interface and provides its own implementation for those methods. This allowed you to define a common interface for different operations and use polymorphism to call the execute and status methods on the doctor's class.
Very good. Now, can I add one more interface and then see how we can do multiple inheritance? So what do you recommend as another interface that we can add?
You could create another interface, for example, staff actions, which defines methods for actions like admit patient or schedule appointment. Then your doctor's class could implement both the operation and the staff actions interfaces, allowing it to have behaviors from both. This demonstrates multiple interface implementation in Java.
Yeah, we added the staff action, just we'll simplify it, so we don't want to complicate it. We'll call it public. We'll add only one method here called take action. Yeah, that's an abstract method. Okay, good. Now in the doctor we will add here comma staff action. So now basically we are implementing 2 interfaces. One is the operation interface, this one, and the staff action. Now if I run my code, I'll get an error, isn't it? Why should I get an error?
You'll get an error because your doctor's class now needs to provide implementations for the methods declared in both the operation and the staff action interfaces.
Yeah.
Since you've
Yes, that's a very good explanation. So this method I need to provide implementation in the doctor class. So I'll come somewhere here, anywhere here, yeah. Let's put this method and provide implementation for it. So offer write, and we will say system dot out dot println the operation room is ready. The operation room is ready. What do you think of this?
That's correct. By adding the take action method with an implementation in the doctor's class, you're fulfilling the contract of the staff action interface. Now your code should compile without errors.
See, the interface is a contract. Every abstract method there, you have to implement it. Otherwise, you're not meeting the contract. So just show you an example. If I delete this one and I run my code, it get this saying you don't have implementation for that method. If I add it here and run my code, it runs with no issue. Yeah. So now I have implemented what I have done. I implemented 2 interfaces. I can do 2, 3, 4. Is there a limit to how many interfaces I can implement? Ms. ChatGPT, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. How can I help you?
Is there a limit to how many interfaces I can implement within a class?
In Java, you can implement as many interfaces as you need in a class. Unlike with extending classes, where you can only inherit from one superclass, you can implement multiple interfaces without any issues.
Okay, what are some of the built-in interfaces in Java that already in Java library?
Java provides very useful interfaces. Some common ones include comparable, which allows you to compare objects of a class, and runnable, which is used for creating threads. There's also serializable, which is used for converting objects to a site stream, and list, set, and map from the collections framework.
Oh, that's very good. Thank you for that. I think we're done now. We understand the interface and the main difference between interface and abstract, that you can implement more than one interface in a class. And the other thing, the interface does not use attributes, but use only constant values. And you don't need a constructor for the interface because you don't have attributes to do. But the rest of it is almost the same. You don't need the word abstract in the interface because by default the methods are abstract. But if you have a concrete method, you need to use the word default. Is that a good summary?
Yes, that's a very good summary. Yves highlighted the key differences between interfaces and abstract classes, that you can implement multiple interfaces don't have attributes or constructors, and methods are abstract by default. But you can use the default keyword for concrete methods. That covers the main points well.
Okay, do you have any advice for my student to expand their knowledge in this area?
I'd recommend focusing on practical exercises. Encourage them to create different classes that implement various interfaces, both built-in and custom ones. Working on small projects that utilize interface-based design principles can really solidify their understanding. Also, exploring the Java documentation for different interfaces can be very beneficial.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, everyone. I hope you find this video useful.